Welcome in everyone to Cash That Ticket Podcast here on the Straight Outta Vegas AM feed. It is Tuesday, June the 2nd, 2026. Here to get in to a lot of sporting talk today. We had some news in the NFL yesterday, trades. We'll talk about that, how it reflected in the market. Of course, we got the NBA Finals starting on Wednesday night. So we'll break down the series preview. We'll get into game one, and then we'll get into some of the baseball games on the Tuesday card. Get you guys a coupon code for pregame.com. And of course, we'll wrap it up with best bet. But joining me, as always, to help me break everything down happening in the sporting world, you got my guy here with me. It's Uncle Diamond Dave Essler. Uncle Dave, how's it going this Tuesday morning, sir?
Yeah, going great. I mean, we kind of swept everything for our customers yesterday. So, I had my biggest bet was your best bet on this podcast. And for those that think we're in collusion, we're not because
Not at all.
we don't typically collude.
No.
So we just kind of land on things. And so, props to us and I think I had the Miami team total over 3.5. They scored 7. So, I think in that under that we cashed, I think they could have played 18 innings and still not scored 7 runs. So, we love easy ones, and we're just praying that today is just as easy.
Yeah, that was a great read, by you, and we handicapped it very well on the pod yesterday. And typically, that's how it's been going for us on the pod here. So I'm glad we got the week started off on the winning foot there. But of course, we'll, both of us, goldfish memory, turn the page. Let's focus on the next day. Focus on finding some more winners for the listeners and our clients as well. Quickly to recap, I know we haven't gotten a recap, or I haven't, I should say, because Kelvin's done a fantastic job of keeping track of our best bet records, at least on the podcast here. Let's start with the month of May. It was a little bit of a down month for us, for our standards, and we said that it was going to happen. But we finished the month going 17, 16, and 2, 51.5%. We were down 1.77 units in the month of May, but through May 31st, we are 94, 68, and 258% plus 19.77 units. So the updated number on that now would be 96, 68, and 2 plus 21.77 units for the dawn and the emergence of this podcast here. So, like I've mentioned, we've done very well on the pod here, breaking it down, finding winners for you guys, and we'll to continue to do that for the month of June and beyond. Was an exciting first day of the month of June, Uncle Dave, because we started to see some big moves happening in the NFL. We'll start it with there. And let's start with Myles Garrett being traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams. And I'll get the trade details, but more importantly, we'll talk about how it reflected in the betting market, um, and what it means for the upcoming season. So the exact trade was, let's see. So from the Rams, Jared Verse, defensive end, a 2027 first round draft pick, a 2028 second round draft pick, a 2029 third round draft pick, went over to the Cleveland Browns, and the two-time defensive player of the year and the single season sack record holder, Myles Garrett, goes over to the Los Angeles Rams. And how did it reflect on the market? So the Rams are around what, 7-1, 8-1, depending on the book. Um, as far as if they're them to win the Super Bowl, Uncle Dave, and now they are the odds-on favorite. Right now, it's down to 6-1 over at DraftKings there for the Los Angeles Rams to win the Super Bowl here. So a big move to start the NFL off season, I guess we can say, Uncle Dave. And I'm trying to find it because I did see some more Rams market moves. So, and this will be at Caesars on the moves, at least for the market. So Rams to win the NFC went from plus 390 to plus 310. Rams to win the NFC West went from plus 140 to plus 105. And then the Rams to have the best record in the NFC went from 9-1 to 7-1. So obviously, when you add a player like Myles Garrett to the defensive side, which was a struggle for the Los Angeles Rams last season, Uncle Dave. But this is a huge pickup for them. What were your thoughts on them acquiring Myles Garrett, and more importantly, what do we think about it in the market reflection?
Yeah, I mean, well, the Rams are already favored, right?
Yeah,
So all it does is make them bigger favorites. So, uh, you know, I don't know that it's an overreaction there at all. I mean, I think that it's probably a good trade for both teams. I mean, if you look at it realistically, Myles Garrett's trade value, his stock has never been higher. And if you look at it realistically, the Cleveland Browns and he's 30. I mean, not that that's old, but he's in his prime or going to maybe be out of his prime. So I think, I mean, the Browns probably realistically aren't winning a Super Bowl with Myles Garrett in his prime. So why not trade him? And of course, they traded him for, a first round pick next year, a second round pick of the year after. I mean, I think that's just building for the future, if you will. And obviously, for the Rams, it's kind of always a win right now situation, right? We'll worry about next year, and that's kind of McVay. So I think it was a good trade for both teams. If I'm taking the, oh my God, they traded Myles Garrett reaction off the table. So I like it for both teams. I mean, I'm sure what that might do is, okay, what does that do to the NFC North with the Browns not having Myles Garrett? If you want to dig deeper down the rabbit hole, that probably uh, downgrades Cleveland and upgrades everybody else in that division, if you will. But I'm a fan of it for both teams, and typically I look at it. I don't look at it that way. The knee-jerk reaction is usually, "Holy crap!" Why did they do that? But I think it makes sense for both teams. So, I'm as far as actionable information, as I said, I think I would look more as what does it do to the NFC North without Myles Garrett? Because the Rams are already heavy favorites, right?
yeah,
I mean, so that's kind of my take on it, if you will.
yeah. I mean, you mentioned it made sense for both teams, especially I think for you take a look at the Browns. I mean, they traded him at is probably his highest value or at his peak, I guess I can say, because of obviously coming off of the season where he broke the record, the single season sack record, and they get a guy back in Jared Verse who coincidentally is also from Dayton, Ohio, so he gets to go back in his home state and play for the Cleveland Browns. Um, and again, a lot of we saw the graphics on Twitter and social media of Myles Garrett getting compared to Aaron Donald when he was there and the force that he was when he was with the Rams before he decided to retire. So I think it's a great pickup for both teams. But for the Rams, we know that they're more than willing to trade draft picks to acquire these type of players. We saw it in the Jared Goff trade. We saw it, now with Myles Garrett and beyond. I think the main thing for the Rams, in that NFC West is going to be, hey, number one, can they stay healthy? Because again, you still have the defending Super Bowl champions. I'm sure the Niners are going to have something to say as well, and that's always a division that's fun to watch. And of course, a lot of it's always health dependent for these teams. So I think the market moves are definitely, of course, warranted when you add a player like Myles Garrett on your defensive line. And now trying to, hunt down and get those sacks on guys like Jacoby Brissett and Brock Purdy and who did I miss there? Sam Darnold there as well. So it'll be fun to watch in the NFC West there. The second move, of course, involves your team, Uncle Dave, AJ Brown. The rumors started swirling. I mean, this was back after the Super Bowl and into the month of March that eventually we knew that AJ Brown, with everything that transpired last season with the Philadelphia Eagles, was going to be on the move, and the team that had a glaring need for a wide receivers or having a number one guy was the New England Patriots. So they trade through the Eagles, AJ Brown over to the New England Patriots. I didn't quite see what the return exactly was. Let me see if I can quickly find it here. So yeah,
Yeah, for a
Eagles.
first rounder next year.
Yeah. 2020, so 2028 first round draft pick and then 2027 fifth round draft pick. It says the better of the New England's two picks in that round. So AJ Brown goes back with his former head coach and Mike Vrabel. But Uncle Dave, this is your team. You could maybe not even talk about the market, but I guess maybe from a fan perspective, how do you think about the deal?
Well, I guess my first reaction was okay. I mean, this has been talked about ad nauseum for months, so
Yeah,
not a surprise that they were going to wait till the trade deadline to save themselves a shit ton of money.
right.
But my first reaction was okay. Now, how does that affect Stephon Diggs? You know, he got cleared of his crimes, if you will. But I like it. I mean, the one thing I like is Brown has pretty much been healthy, and if you look at his stats, you know, he was really good with Tennessee. 2 out of 3,000 yard seasons, and that would have probably been with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Then he goes to the Eagles and he goes nuts for 2 years, right? Almost 1,500 yards 2 years in a row. But they say he's declined, right? Well, he still had 1,000 yards in 15 games last year and almost 1,113 games the year before. But the Eagles also changed their offense, right? They got Saquon Barkley. That's the big difference. The first year Barkley rushes for 2,000 yards. Well, of course, they're not going to be targeting AJ Brown because they just don't need to. And so, I'm a fan of it. What does that do to New England? I mean, probably not a whole lot. They were going to either have Diggs back or do something in the trade thing to get their wide receivers built up. I mean, they had to. If you look at what happened to them in the Super Bowl last year, they. So I'm a fan of it. He's bigger than Diggs, so I love that. As far as who won the trade, I don't know. The Patriots are kind of always now they're always all about win now, right?
Yeah.
Kind of in the right situation. I mean, anybody other than the Crafts or that team would have held on to Gerard Mayo for another year or two and given him a chance. So, I think it's good for both teams. Again, I don't hate it for either one of them because, what I mean, we'll see what happens to Philadelphia. I mean, suppose Barkley gets hurt and whatnot. Um, I think it probably does downgrade the Eagles a little bit. Like I said, especially if Barkley gets hurt or somebody else on that receiving core goes down. What options do they have? So I guess I would call that a trade on paper potentially a bigger win for New England and Philadelphia, but I'm not an Eagles fan, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely say I mean, they don't have to. They didn't stretch the field with Brown like they used to. I mean,
Yeah.
he was averaging 16 yards a catch, and it was down to under 13 last year. But again, they didn't have to. So we'll see what he does in New England. I think he'll get the benefit of playing against a lot of teams that have never seen him before and maybe don't know how to game plan. So I mean, it's all going to be up to how they use him. I mean, do they totally reinvent their offense? And I mean, they have a good running game anyway, right? So you know, I'm glad with the trade. I guess from a fan perspective, from a future perspective, I'm not a fan of New England going back to the Super Bowl this year. I'd love to see it, but I think they probably got a little bit of they caught lightning in a bottle last year with a soft schedule, and if you look at their schedule this year, which I'm sure we'll get to, it's hard. And not only is it hard, but most of their tough games are on the road. So does it really elevate New England? I don't think it does.
Yeah, of course we know it's everything that transpired last season in Philadelphia with AJ Brown and everything that we're hearing in the locker room or his
Right.
relationship, with the head coach or with Jalen Hurts. That it was inevitable that he was going to get moved, just to I guess for morale reasons and also addresses the need for the Patriots. Right? Let's not sugarcoat. Like there was a need for another wide receiver in there, a number one wide receiver, and they go out and get that with AJ Brown here. And I think that he could definitely have a big year for the Patriots and having that downfield threat now, in a big guy in AJ Brown there. So it's gonna be fun to watch that offense now that they've put it together very quickly in New England there. But you mentioned, we'll talk about and win totals. I think starting next week, and we'll start seeing some more of these trades happening and things like that throughout the week there. So definitely excited to dive into the NFL, in the month of June. And then before we know it, like you've been mentioning, Uncle Dave, that the Hall of Fame game is going to be here before we know it in the NFL. So definitely excited for that. All right, let's flip the page here, Uncle Dave. We do have the NBA Finals starting on Wednesday night. The final two teams to find out who's going to be hoisting, I believe it's still called the Larry O'Brien Trophy, but um, the New York Knicks representing the Eastern Conference, the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference. And right now, start here with the series odds. The San Antonio Spurs, odds courtesy of DraftKings, are a minus 205 favorite to win the NBA Finals. The Knicks right now plus 170 to win the finals. Some of the series props spread, we'll start there. Spurs minus 1.5 is at plus 115. And total games played in the series over 5.5 is sitting at minus 170 over on DraftKings. But as I always say, many times on each podcast, Shop Round gets the best of the numbers if you are going to be betting into these future markets. And I'll quickly touch on the MVP favorites here. Wimby, of course, minus 185 to win NBA Finals MVP. Jalen Brunson plus 210. And then there's a significant drop off down to Cat at 20 to 1, OG Anunoby 40 to 1, and then Stephon Castle 50 to 1, and then beyond that. But Uncle Dave, it's been quite a journey for both of these teams. I guess you could say that in different pathways based on the quality of opponents that they have played. But who do you like to win the NBA Finals here? And then we'll get into game one, and I'll read those lines out. So Spurs will be at home, coming off a game seven with 3 days off, minus 4.5 right now for game one in favor of the Spurs. Total 218.5, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the series goes, I don't know. I would be tempted to take the Knicks right now. It's just too good of a price for a team that hasn't lost in the playoffs, and they're super rested. I mean, if I were going to take the Spurs, I put it this way: I like the Knicks in Game One, and I said that a week ago. I don't know if I said it on this podcast, but I said it somewhere, maybe several somewheres, that the Knicks are just way too rested, and rest hasn't hurt them in game ones yet. And the Spurs are not rested. Obviously, they played a grueling series against the Thunder, and there's part of me that wonders, was that their Super Bowl, beating Oklahoma City? I mean, obviously, it's not the goal, right? You want to win the NBA Finals, but that matchup was circled for months. How we, who's going to get by Oklahoma City? Can San Antonio give them a run for their money? So I wonder if there's a little bit of a letdown. I mean, I don't hear what I'm not saying. They're
Mhm.
not going to let down and let the Knicks win the game, but there has to be some sort of, you know, fall off in terms of intensity,
Sure.
I would think. And with the Knicks being rested, I'll take the Knicks in game one plus the points. I'm only a little pissed at myself for not taking 5.5 yesterday. Uh, but I also think that, perhaps Towns can give Wemby a little bit more trouble than maybe Holmgren did. I mean, Towns is a rebound machine. So I think that matchup, obviously, any matchup with Wemby favors Wemby, but I think Towns can make it a little more difficult than maybe Holmgren did, especially in game seven. And Towns is also going to be able to score some points. So if I liked the Spurs, um, sometimes no bet is better than a bad bet, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I would take the Knicks right now, but since I think the Knicks could steal game one, and I don't think it's a steal. I mean, I think the Knicks have proven that they're just as good a team as perhaps San Antonio, at least in the last month. Maybe I would wait, and if the Knicks win game one, then I go back and take the Spurs. So having said that, maybe I take the Knicks now at plus money, and then maybe if the Knicks win game one, you can maybe get the Spurs at plus money to make a little bit of money. But there's talking about minus 200, minus 205, plus 180, whatever. You're not talking about life changing money. So, I mean, unless you're betting 50 grand, uh, which I'm not going to do, maybe, to our listeners, to the fans that want some action on it, that's probably the way I would play it. And, I mean, winning a plus 180 bet is lovely, but how much money are you going to put on it? So yeah, I would take the Knicks right now, and if they steal game one, go back and take the Spurs. But I do like the rest factor for the Knicks here quite a bit, and they've also had, the better part of 10 days to kind of scout both teams, right? I mean, they've been able to sit back and watch every single game since game four, and not worry about what they got to do. So I just think that gives them a pretty big advantage, especially early.
Yeah, so you take a look. You mentioned a couple of things there, and it's reflecting in the market that DraftKings does a really good job of giving these prop bets for whether it's NBA mostly, of course. I think they also do it, for playoff series that are 5, 6, or 7 game series, right? So what I'm saying is, if you like the Knicks, if you think Knicks game one and Knicks to win the series is at plus 390 right now, currently over on DraftKings. Spurs to win game one, Knicks to win the series at plus 450. I think you probably get a better number on that if the San Antonio Spurs win game one. On the updated odds, if you like the Knicks to win the finals, and then the last one here, Knicks to win game one and Spurs to win the NBA finals at plus 550 there. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to write that down and see how the market reflects after game one there and see the updated odds there. But a couple of things that you did mention there, Uncle Dave. So let's go back to the regular season. These two teams, of course, a lot of people do know, remember, um, was the NBA Cup Finals matchup, right? Between these two teams, Spurs and the Knicks. And I think that was back on December 31st, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. So they did match up twice during the regular season here. Let's see. So, um, here we go. Emirates Cup. Yeah, so Knicks won, but it's not giving me a final score here. But we know the Knicks won the NBA Cup. And if you remember, and if people watched the Western Conference Finals after they were over, I think Dylan Harper said, this is our opportunity to go back and kind of avenge what happened in that NBA Cup here in the NBA Finals. But, that was just one game, and this is a 7 game series there. So, I've tooted the horn of the San Antonio Spurs when we started doing this podcast, Uncle Dave, and at the trade deadline, we talked a lot about it as well. Um, I think this is going to be a really fun matchup from X's and O's perspective because there are guys on the New York Knicks, defensive guys that, really pride themselves on that end, right? Guys like Mikal Bridges, OJ Anunoby, Josh Hart, and they can match up very well, in this series. And you mentioned Carl Anthony Towns, he's going to give a better effort and maybe make things a little bit more difficult for for Wimby than Chet did, right? Chet, just his body frame and things like that. I think there's we know there is some type of quote unquote rivalry, or I don't want to say hatred from Wimby towards Chet there, but I guess competitive is a little bit a better word for Wimby and that Chet, quote unquote rivalry there. But it's hard to ignore what the Knicks have done in the playoffs, especially winning what 11, 12 straight games in the NBA playoffs and heading into the NBA finals. Now, I think the value is definitely on the New York Knicks side of things. And I'm actually going to pick the Knicks to win the NBA finals here. They're just playing with a lot of confidence. They've just ran through their opponents, in that Eastern Conference pathway to the NBA Finals. And you mentioned this being the first game on the road or game one on the road for the New York Knicks. They've been very, very good on the road in the postseason. Yes, it's a very small sample, but the way that they've handled business and how they've been able to blow out their opponents in the playoffs um, has been has been very, very impressive. I mean, they've won each of their 6 games on the road, Uncle Dave, by 10 or more points. And some of these games they won by 30, by 51 against the Atlanta Hawks. They won game, what? Oh, I forgot which game it was, but they beat the Cavs by 37, yada, yada, yada. But the offense has really stepped up on the road for this New York Knicks team. And I think that's just going to continue in game one. Yeah, there may be a little bit of rust because, they have 8 full days off to the New York Knicks, and San Antonio has 3 full days off as well. But I think the Knicks are ready for this moment. We could have had maybe a different conversation last year if it wasn't for some injuries that the Knicks had. that they could have been in the NBA Finals against the Thunder, but that's past history. But the moment is now for this Knicks team, and I do think that they win this series here. So, um, I'll take them plus 170. Get shop around, get the best of the number. I think they win this first game. You mentioned it, game one. Should I gotten the 5.5 there? But I think what for me and what I've done, especially when all these teams have a long layoff, is kind of settling in, and maybe there's some rust there or some jitters, especially because it is the NBA Finals now, right? And then maybe come back on a live over, whether it's midway through the first or maybe even the second half there, because I'm taking a look at the numbers right now, Uncle Dave, for the first half right now. It is 112.5. I kind of do like that second half over right now. It's posted at 105.5 over on DraftKings right now there. So that's kind of where I'm at for the series. Knicks to win the series plus 170. Knicks game one, plus 4.5. Second half over in game one. As far as MVP odd go, I mean, I don't really dive into that market. I know that's the popular bet, or people just want to get down on some plus money odds there. I mean, it's really hard to ignore Jalen Brunson to win that. Obviously, at plus 210, the favorite behind Wimby there. But I think OG Anunoby at 40 to 1 is a little bit intriguing there as well. But that would be the only other play I would look at as far as finals MVP does go. If you are looking to have quote unquote, some fun bets out there for the MVP odds there, Uncle Dave. So I think we covered that one pretty well. Anything else, Knicks Spurs? I know we'll take it game by game, but overall for the series, you have anything else?
No, I was just I think what kind of tipped me to the Knicks and a little bit even more, as you mentioned that Ananobi was 40 to 1 and Towns is 20 to 1, right? I mean that's
Yes.
a pretty so the market is kind of in its own way reflecting what we just said that perhaps the Knicks are the Knicks are a lot more live than people think. So I'm glad that we see things the same way. I know neither one of us like confrontation, but we don't get to argue on that one.
Yeah, and I'm just very excited, or not excited. I'm just very curious to see what Mike Brown, dials up defensively against Wimby, and what that's going to look like, because they have different guys that they can throw at, Wimby, right? Josh Hart, Cat, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. The guys all have length and versatility. But and just to go back to that 2025 NBA Cup, the Knicks won that game 124-113, led by OG Anunoby, who had 28 points. Jalen Brunson had 25 and 8. And outside of that, they did meet two times during the regular season. I just had that in front of me. Here we go. So they split the series 114-89, and then 134-132 in favor of the Spurs there. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. All right, so of course we'll talk more about the NBA Finals as
Well,
the
for
games.
what that's worth,
Uh-huh.
I would take I would if that means anything, I would take the Spurs and over or the Knicks and the under in game one.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think the correct. And I'm not saying I don't think that the Spurs can get. I think the one thing that I've been really impressed about with the Knicks is how well they've been able to play offensively.
Right.
Right, and I think the 3-point
Yeah,
shooting.
I agree with you, and it hasn't just been one player.
Exactly. Right. It's been a collective effort. Like, it hasn't all been on Jalen Brunson
Right.
to be that guy every single night, right? We've seen OG step up. We've seen Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart. So I think last season, when we talk about the playoffs for the Knicks, it felt like it was always Jalen Brunson having to be that guy
Yeah.
for them. And they've gotten contributions off the bench as well, right? Especially in Landry Shamet, who's been able to knock down some big 3-pointers and stretch those leads out for the New York Knicks during this postseason there. So I know, well, I know we'll talk about it game by game, and we'll get into the benches and things like that as it progresses here. But I'm definitely excited for this one. I was talking to Sleepy about this when the Spurs won. I think it was on Saturday, Sunday night. He's like, this is the first NBA Finals matchup that I'm gonna watch every minute of. But it's gonna be very exciting between these two teams for
Well,
sure.
I'll watch the games that are in San Antonio because I don't know that I can take 3 nights of watching Spike Lee.
That celebrity row is definitely going to be very, very interesting to see who's actually out there and the amount of money that is being forked out for those courtside seats there at Madison Square Garden. So that'll be a topic in itself there at Madison Square Garden. All right, let's get our focus to the MLB, Uncle Dave. We'll keep this one, I don't say brief, but I'll try to get into the most of the games here for the Tuesday card. And let's start 6:40 Eastern start time. We've got the Detroit Tigers and the Tampa Bay Rays, game two of this series. After a very high scoring affair last night, 10-9 in favor of the Detroit Tigers there. But tonight, right back at it for game two. It'll be Jack Flaherty. Gonna start here for the Tigers and be Steven Matz for the Tampa Bay Rays. Rays are a minus 143 home favorite. Plus 119 on the money line for the Tigers, a road underdog. Total sitting around 8.5 in this one, Uncle Dave. Any thoughts on Tigers and Rays?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like to go back to the overs simply because bullpens were used up last night, but over in Tampa Bay is not always an easy bet to make. Um, and both pitchers, they can kind of go either way, right? I don't like laying a buck 40 on Matz. He didn't have a great time last time he pitched, 3 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, but that was the second game back to back against the Orioles. Again, the Orioles made the adjustments and they hit him, but other than that, not a lot of people. And if Matz gets beat, he's going to get beat by the home run, 7 in 44 innings, and if the Tigers win, it's typically going to be via the home run. That's kind of how they're set up, and they're starting to get healthier. So Flaherty, he's had ups and downs. I think he's back on the uptick. I could be inclined to take the Tigers again. I think they're coming around to what everybody thought they would be. So I could make a case for the Tigers at plus money.
Yeah, I do have his two-star bet up in this game between these two teams. So
Well,
look out.
they don't talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not. So I'm just kind of advertising that I do have a two-star play up. It's already been sent to clients, but it's up there right now as a daily purchase as well. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, we talked about Steven Matz in his last start, right? That we said that we wanted to trust him, but it could be that he turns into the old Steven Matz, and that's exactly what happened in his last start there. And I remember watching this game as well. And I remember that exact quote that we talked about on the pod when we go win up against the Orioles in his last start there. So yeah, I won't give my opinion on this one, but I wanted to get Uncle Dave's take for this one. Another 6:40 Eastern start time, Uncle Dave. We've got the Padres and the Phillies. It'll be Randy Vasquez for the Padres and be Aaron Nola for the Phillies. Phillies are a minus 148 home favorite, plus 123 on the money line for the Padres. Total in this one is sitting at 8 here, Uncle Dave. What are your thoughts on Padres Phillies?
Yeah, it's another tough game. I mean, there was a time Nola was good, right?
Yeah.
But in the last 2 years, he hasn't been. I mean, last year, was cut short, but his ERA was over 6, and okay, he's going to come back this year. Well, this year his ERA is close to 5, close to 6, 5.72, 1.45 WHIP, which I believe is probably as it's ever been in his career. But that would mean trusting Vasquez, and he got hammered by the Phillies last time, so we got a rematch. Does he make the adjustments or not? The market seems to suggest not. There's a little more money on the Padres, and yet there's a little bit of market love for the Phillies. So I would have to pass. I mean, I think there might be an angle in one of the team totals. I'm just not sure which one.
Yeah.
It could be the Padres. Over 8, I think, would probably be a bet I'd be willing to make. But again, there's a lot of, talking about the market, there's a lot of love for the over, but not a lot of movement in the over. So, tough one. I guess, you know, um, everybody loves the Phillies. I think I'd have to take the Padres.
Yeah, it's interesting that both of these pitchers in their last start faced the opposition. Aaron
Right.
Nola had a pretty solid start, 6 innings, two
Right.
earned runs, 5 strikeouts. Vasquez has been the one that's really struggled against the Phillies throughout his career, 5 and 2/3, 4 earned runs. in that start against the Phillies. The bullpen came in and did a solid job of not giving up any more runs, but it was just the offense just wasn't able to produce enough for them to win that game there. And historically, 0-2, 9.00 ERA for Randy Vasquez against the Phillies there. And I'm trying to see his splits here from home and road because I know he's done pretty well in San Diego. Or I'm sorry, I should take that back. It's been on the road where he's been pretty good this season. A very small sample, 24 and 2/3 innings pitch. He's only allowed 4 runs on the road. Um, but at home, 3-2, 4.54 ERA, 18 earned runs, and 35 and 2/3 innings pitched there. So my initial look was the over 8 in this game. I thought it would be more than 8.5, and maybe it does get there by maybe mid-afternoon, close to game time. But I could see runs being put up in this game between these two squads. Let's get over to AL East battle, Uncle Dave. We've got the Baltimore Orioles. They're in Fenway Park here tonight to take on the Red Sox. I don't know why I want to say Rockies. The Red Sox. Shane Baz on the mound there for the Orioles will be Conley early for the Red Sox. Red Sox are a minus 136 home favorite, plus 113 on the money line for the Orioles. Total in this game sitting at 8.5, a little bit of vig on the over at minus 115, currently over on DraftKings right now, Uncle Dave. But what are your thoughts on Orioles and Sox?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought is, why not like Connor early? I mean, he just pitched 7 shutout innings against the Braves. But, we look a little further, how many pitches did he have to throw? 97 through 93 the week before. So that's kind of a lot of pitches for him. And he did beat the Orioles back in late April. So I'm leery of something being that easy, if you will. And Baz, I've been on and off him forever. I've been wrong about him forever. But what's he coming off of? Two games against the Rays where he only gave up 1 run in 2 runs in 13 innings. Prior to that, he was getting crushed. The Yankees crushed him, the A's crushed him, Washington did pretty well against him. So well, how has he done against the Red Sox? Well, not bad. I mean, they've only had 54 at bats against him, and they're not crushing the rock. So I could probably make the case for the Orioles here on the run line. Uh, I just don't know that early is what he's been doing is duplicatable, and he threw a lot of pitches. So I could be very wrong, but I would have to look again at the underdog here, Baltimore. I mean, it's a division game. I like the Orioles here for the full game. If I was on Boston, it would undoubtedly be for the first 5. But both bullpens kind of suck, so that would be a game I would look at if it is 1-0 after 3. Maybe if pitch counts are getting higher, I would look at an in-game over.
Yeah, you talked about it earlier. I mean, yeah, he's coming off a really solid start against the Braves, 7 shutout innings there. And he's done very well for this Red Sox pitching rotation thus far. I was looking at his splits as well, and at Fenway Park, he's 5 starts, 2-2, 3.29 ERA. He's done very well on the road as well. Even better, 3-0 with a 2.67 ERA. It's just the thing that makes me nervous about the Orioles is can I really trust Shane Baz in these spots there? And of course, him formerly being with the Tampa Bay Rays, familiar with this Red Sox team, and he's done well in his career against this Red Sox team as well. 3-1 with a 2.64 ERA, 32 strikeouts, 7 walks, and coming off of 2 phenomenal starts, and they were both against his former team. In the Rays, there, 13 innings, 2 runs, 15 strikeouts, and 5 walks combined in those starts. But his last 3 starts, he's gone at least 6 innings for this Orioles team there. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Uncle Dave, is that maybe look for a live over because, again, I don't trust both these bullpens, as you mentioned there as well. So I think that's a great look. I mean, maybe there's some regression coming here for Shane Baz. It may not be in this game just because he has familiarity with this Red Sox team. Um, if anything, maybe first 5 under 4.5 would be the look, and then when we get to the latter part of the game, it goes. We see some runs given up from the bullpen, but that would be the look here for me. If you maybe pick a side here, I'd look at the Red Sox, maybe the first 5 innings, and take the bullpen out of it there. But yeah. That's what I have for Orioles and the Sox. Um, let's get over to the Guardians and the Yankees here. Game one of this series. We have Joey Cantillo for the Guardians. It'll be Cam Schlittler for the Yankees. Yankees are a minus 252 home favorite, plus 203 on the money line here for the Guardians. Uncle Dave total in this one sitting at 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, what do we know about Cantillo? Because we know a lot about Schlittler, right? Um, I I was leery of him. Like he threw 106 pitches in two straight games, uh, but he only gave up one run in one and two in the other. And so I kind of thought maybe, yeah, maybe the Royals get to him, but no. 6 innings, 4 hits, one run, which was one run left to park. Uh, and he only threw 77 pitches. Otherwise, I would think, oh, let me find a way to try to not bet on him. But I can't do it. I mean, the thing about Cantillo, he comes off of 2 innings, 4 runs against Washington. And if you want to look in reverse order, prior to that, he shut out Detroit. Prior to that, he got crushed by Cincinnati. Then he shut out the Angels prior to that. So it's going to be like every other game for him has been good. So this would be his good game. But how good is it? The Yankees. Okay, I would hope the Yankees would have done well against him, but they've only had 14 at bats against him. So I could do nothing other than take the Yankees on the run line in the first 5 innings and hope that we get a couple across the plate uh, from for the Yankees because if Cleveland gets any, it's going to be one, right? So we just need 2 runs from the Yankees to win that game. Um, you know, the thing is that oftentimes with these pitchers, and it's happened to Schlittler quite a bit. The teams go out there and they think, well, Schlittler's pitching, we don't really have to score a bunch of runs. Now they scored 15 against the Royals, but if you look in Schlittler's other games, they've scored 15 once they scored 12, but other games 4, 4, 3, 2. So I would also be inclined to take the under. Cantillo does have an upside. So, I think it's 6-1 Yankees, and I'll take the Yankees in the first five minus the half run.
Yeah, there is a light to moderate breeze that will be blowing across the diamond from left to right. I don't think that'll be a huge factor here tonight in Yankee Stadium. I did see, I don't know which game that was for. But, anyways, yeah, I mean, look, we've talked a lot about Cam Schlitter, right? And I think we talked about him in this last start. I think when I took him as my best bet on the Yankees run line there, and he went out there and pitched a phenomenal game for um, the Yankees, right? And he's just been lights out. He had a phenomenal month of May. 30 and one thirds innings pitch. He only allowed 5 earned runs. He's been even better on the road, but at Yankee Stadium, still very good. 4 starts, 1-1 with a 2.38 ERA, 6 earned runs, and 22 and two-thirds innings pitched there. Um, sorry, for Joey Cantillo, I believe he had one start last season or an appearance against this Yankees team, and he got absolutely mashed in that appearance against the Yankees. So, if anything, maybe a Guardians team total under would be the look here for me. So that ERA for him is a little inflated. And I went back and did a little digging. So this was back in the 2024 season, 4 innings, 6 hits, 7 earned runs. But he had 2 appearances last season out of the bullpen against his Yankees team. Very small sample. 2 innings, he did allow 3 hits combined in those 2 starts there. So I think that the Yankees can get out early and then just coast with Cam Schlittler. If he's able to give them another 6 or 7 innings here tonight, I think the popular play again is going to be probably the run line here for the Yankees. -1.5, -117 right now, currently over on DraftKings between the Guardians and the Yankees. But I think my favorite play would be the Guardians team total under, whether if you want to go in the first 5 innings or full game. Let's get over to a couple more games, Uncle Dave. Let's go Toronto Blue Jays and the Atlanta Braves. Kevin Gaussman getting the start here for the Jays. It'll be Bryce Elder for the Braves. Braves are a home favorite, -120 on the money line, -101 for the Blue Jays. Total in this one sitting at 8.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Identical type pitchers, and Gaussman, has been pitching really well. He's shut out Miami, one run against Miami, one run against Pittsburgh, shut out Detroit. The flip side of that is none of those teams are incredibly good offensively. Now, has he pitched against the Braves? Well, not an absolute ton at all, and the Braves haven't done much with him. So part of me says, maybe Toronto's the right side here. If you look at uh, the market is telling us that um, maybe they are. I mean, it opened 130. The Braves are down to minus 115. So I'm inclined to kind of like the over at 7.5. I don't trust Elder at all. I'm thinking, I hate to bet against the Braves too, but I'm thinking Toronto here like for the maybe for the first 5 innings, just to go ahead and take the bullpen out of it. Don't know enough about either one of them. So, yeah, first 5 innings or maybe even first 5 innings under. I mean, Elder's been pretty good. Again, you look at his last start against the Red Sox, he got crushed. Well, go figure. The Red Sox just saw him 2 weeks prior to that. So there you have it. And I don't know that Toronto has seen a whole lot of him. I would venture to guess not. Clearly. So yeah, I would be inclined to look Toronto in the first five. I don't like bet against Atlanta at home ever. Toronto in the first five and probably the under in the first five as well.
Yeah, I know Kevin Gossman is a guy that I can definitely trust. But especially when he's pitching at home, right? Obviously, this is a road start for him where he hasn't been bad at all. I mean, 3.45 ERA. I think a lot of that came in one of his starts this season. And you mentioned, right, Bryce Elder coming after that start against the Red Sox where he gave up 5 earned runs. But prior to that, he was still giving up, two here. He went 3 innings, or sorry, 8 innings, 3 earned runs against the Red Sox again. This game does have an opportunity or a chance for it to be either a late starter, possibly even rained out, just because they are expecting rain in this one, and with 11 miles per hour winds blowing in. So keeping eyes and ears open for that. So with a gun to my head, I'd back Osman in a full game. Blue Jays. Just the fact that I'm just a little bit sour still on these Toronto Blue Jays offense because they've been very, very inconsistent thus far this season. Let's get over to Giants and Brewers here, Uncle Dave. We've got the Giants who got absolutely well, they put up 16 runs yesterday to their Brewers. I know we both like the under in this one. I actually bet this one, and it was over pretty early. But nonetheless, Trevor McDonald get the starts here for the Giants. It'll be Kyle Harrison for the Brewers. Brewers are a minus 258 home favorite, plus 208 on the money line for the Giants. Total in this one, 7.5 with heavy juice, minus 125 on the under, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, I mean we know what we're getting in Harrison, right? I
Yep.
mean, so it's really not. Uh, I mean, it's all about McDonald and bullpens, right? And McDonald has pitched reasonably well, but I think the thing I like about McDonald is he doesn't tend to give up the long ball. He's a big time ground ball pitcher, double digit ground balls. He hasn't given up more than 8 fly ball outs. So that kind of bodes well for the Brewers not running away with things here. So I could do nothing but look at the under. I know it's tough to do with the Brewers
Yeah.
offense, but they don't see a whole lot of McDonald. So I would look at the under. And I know everybody's going to line up to take the Brewers run line, right? I mean, it's what they do. And it may or may not win, but if I were a betting man, I would look at the value on the Giants run line. I mean, they're kind of pissy after last night. I know they're not going to score a ton off of Harrison, if any. So I that just kind of tells me the under is probably the right bet here. And if it's going to stay under, I give the Giants run line an equal chance to cash as well. Don't love that, but don't hate it. Again, this could be a 3-2 game, and that would not surprise me a bit. So under, under at least for the first five, probably for the game, and maybe Giants run line for the game. I mean, you get a good price on that. The first five is you think, oh, we'll just take the Brewers first five, but minus the half run, but and that's probably a winner too, but it's also not cheap. I mean, I think it's over minus 150, so not something a lot of people do. I think it probably closes at 7. So yeah, under under is the best bet here, I think.
Yeah, Kyle Harrison, the former Giants pitcher, going up against his former team here. But he's been lights out thus far this season. 51 and two-thirds innings pitch. He's only allowed 9 earned runs in those spots. Walks are a little bit of a concern for him. But he definitely has that, swing and miss stuff in his arsenal of his pitches there. Coming off of start, or he's had 3 straight starts where he hasn't given up an earned run, and that's in what, 18 innings. And the Brewers have won, let's see here, 6 straight starts that, or 7 straight starts that he's won, and 6 of those 7 games, Uncle Dave, they won by multiple runs there. So I would look at a strikeout prop here as well for Kyle Harrison if you are, that prop player. I don't hate that. First 5 innings run line for the Brewers. I think I'm all over the Brewers here, but I also do like your play on the under in this one, 7.5. Look like it's trending towards a 7 in this matchup. Um, Couple other games here, Uncle Dave. We'll get to. I'll touch on maybe one more here. Rangers and the Cardinals. Nathan Eovaldi for the Rangers. Dustin May for the Cardinals. Rangers are a slight road favorite here, minus 112 on the money line, minus 108 for Dustin May and the Cardinals. Totaling this one at 7, Uncle Dave.
I'm taking Evaldi because that's what the market says pretty clearly. I mean, the game opened 110, 110. It's trending towards Texas, and I don't trust the Cardinal offense, so I will go ahead and take the Texas Rangers there.
Yeah, we also have 10 miles per hour winds blowing in this one. I think obviously that's reflected in the total there,
Yeah,
but
right. It opened 7.5. It's down to 7 almost everywhere. And
yeah.
if it's 7.5, it's juiced minus 140. So that kind of takes playing the run line out of the equation. I could almost get behind the first 5 under, maybe the Orioles and the Texas in the first 5, but May went from really good to really bad to good, and I don't know that he has won me over yet, and at least with the Evaldi, I know what I'm getting. So I'd take Texas.
Yeah, I want to see May put together back-to-back great starts because he's
Yeah,
coming off that 7 shutout innings against the Brewers there, which was, very impressive. But, prior it's been more of, he's been bad. And I believe that, his home numbers, excuse me, have not been very good either. Cardinals have lost for the last 5 starts that he has made for this team. Um, we've got Pirates and Astros here tonight at Daikin Park. That's what it's called now, but we still call it the Juice Box here. Dodgers and D-backs going at it in game 2 after a 4-1 victory for the Diamondbacks in the opening game of that series, and then Mets and the Mariners in the Great Northwest there, and then Rockies, who did win last night, and I'm kicking myself for not taking them because I did mention, Freeland has pretty good road numbers, but that one turned into a little bit of a higher scoring game. Grayson Rodriguez on the mound for the Angels to round out the baseball card here for tonight. Uncle Dave, if you have anything for those games, you want to dish out. If not, we can move it along.
no, I'd 100% pass that Pittsburgh Houston game. I kind of like the over again in the Angels game. We got good weather for it, and I do lean towards the Arizona Diamondbacks. I like Soroka, so that would probably be a first 5 bet there if I bet the Dodgers game.
Yeah, I was looking at Soroka. He has really, really good numbers thus far this season, especially at home as well. So, I think that we've talked about that Yankees tax, that Dodgers tax you're going to pay. You can probably get some good odds. Just really fading the Dodgers behind a really good pitcher like Soroka has been at least this season for that Diamondbacks ball club. All right, so we'll put a pin in that for the MLB card. I think we covered it pretty well. Before we do get over to best bets to wrap up this episode, just want to remind everybody get over there pregame.com. Still opportunity for you guys to use that promo code NERD50. That's $50 off of the Sports Nerd All Access All-Star Break package. And of course, I would beat myself. You get every pick in every sport until the MLB All-Star break. So it's uh, right around mid July, including game of the weeks, game of the months, games of the year. Right now, you can get 30 days of the exact same access for $249. But here you can get an extra about another 40 around 40 plus days for the same $249. But even better for this podcast listeners, if you use that promo code nerd50, you can knock off $50 more off that price and get it down to 199. And as a reminder, this is for any pregame pro. We put up the daily packages, but a subscription is the best way, honestly, to get every pick that we do make. Um, over at pregame.com there. So whether you want to get on it till the MLB All-Star break, whether you want to go, season long, whatever your heart desires, it's a good opportunity to get on there. So all you got to do is go to pregame.com, click on buy picks, and click on the picture of the sports nerd to get to get on my homepage, I should say, and simply add the sports nerd all access to All-Star break package to your shopping cart. Then add that coupon code nerd50 and confirm your discount. It's that easy. Honestly, don't miss out. It's been a really good start. As a pregame pro, I believe 15-7 is my record thus far. Doing pretty well in NBA and MLB as well. Three-star plays are 8-2. So it's been a really, really good start there. So again, get over there, pregame.com, if you want to get on a picks package. All right, Uncle Dave, started the month 2-0. Let's get it to 4-0 for the first 2 days of the month of June. I'll let you lead it off. Where are you taking us?
This is gonna kill me. I don't like Jamison Taylor. Uh, I want to take the Cubs at minus 120, but I think what I'm going to do is take the Cubs team total over 3.5. I know the weather in Wrigley is not ideal for runs. That's why you got a total of 7.5. So, I mean, the thing is, what do we know about Gage Jump? Well, he's only had a little bit of time in AAA. He is going to strike out a lot of people. I mean, in 38 innings, he struck out 56 guys down in Vegas in AAA this year. But he walked 20 and he gives up hits. I mean, he had one start. He had his moment in the sun against Seattle, and he gave up 9 hits in 5 innings. Uh, Only walked one, but 11 fly balls. That's a problem. And I think even with the wind blowing in Wrigley, that's a problem. So, and I don't trust their bullpen. I will take the Cubs team total over. And that is a little bit of against what the market's saying, but that's what I'm saying.
Yep. Hey, sometimes we want to follow the market, but sometimes the market, is wrong as well there. So, um, I couldn't talk you off of that one for your best bet. For my best bet, I'm gonna go to that Giants in the Brewers game and really just back both these pitchers here tonight to not repeat what happened last night as far as taking the under there. I'm going to go in the first 5 innings though. I'll keep it between the two pitchers. See, there's plenty of fours out there. So I'm going to go under 4 in the first 5 innings with McDonald and Kyle Harrison on the mound. We talked a lot about Kyle Harrison today. We've talked about him a lot on the previous pods. I've been a huge fan of him thus far this season. I don't expect the Brewers offense to go out there and put up another, 10 plus runs here tonight. So hopefully these two pitchers are able to settle into the first couple of innings and we're able to coast to maybe, a 2-1 by the end of the fifth inning, or maybe a 2-0, or even better, a scoreless first 5 innings between these two teams. But hopefully runs are at a premium just backing both these pitchers here in this game. So Brewers Giants under 4 in the first 5 innings here as my best bet for the Tuesday card. And that, my friends, is going to do it here for this edition of the Cash That Ticket podcast on the Straight Out of Vegas AM feed. A little longer, but we had a lot to talk about here today. But Uncle Dave, anything else for our listeners before we get our Tuesdays going?
Now I'm staring at the Royals and Noah Cameron, and why are they only plus 105 against Andrew Abbott and the Reds? Uh, and I'm going to suggest maybe that the Royals are a live underdog because that would be a sharp play. That's all I got.
There we go. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more baseball. Maybe we'll talk about some more NFL stuff if things are transpiring in the National Football League. But we'll start win totals next week. Kind of just go from, I guess, bottom to top. We'll figure it out. But definitely want to get into the football talk as we approach slowly the Hall of Fame game. And before we know it, the NFL season is going to be here. All right. Good luck with your bets here tonight. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.